Welcome back to Silver Age Sleuthing, the show where we take a look at the early days of the Marvel Universe to find tidbits of trivia about our favorite heroes. This week we're continuing our look at the early days of the Fantastic Four, mostly because they were still the only game in town when 1962 rolled around. The Four's second outing features the first appearance of another Marvel mainstay, the alien Skrulls. So, you can probably guess how the Fantastic Four's first encounter with the shapeshifting Skrulls went down. The Skrulls impersonated the Four to get them into trouble, but then the Four outsmarted them and cleared their name. But did you know that to stop the impending Skrull invasion, Mr. Fantastic pretended to be his own Skrull imposter and used comic book cutouts to convince the Skrull invasion force that Earth was filled with horrific monsters? Which is strange because, as we know from the last issue, Earth is filled with horrific monsters. Either way, the Skrulls ended up giving Reed a medal before piecing out back to their homeworld. Meanwhile, after the trip back, the Thing briefly reverts to his human form, the first in what would be several soul-crushing teases fate would have in store from him in those early days. The issue ends with a moral dilemma. The remaining Skrulls are still on Earth, they can't be trusted, they can't be imprisoned, but nobody wants to kill them either, so instead, Reed hypnotizes them into thinking they are cows. All's well that ends well, I guess? For now, at least. Meanwhile, Henry Pym doesn't know it yet, but he's about to stumble onto his own superhero origin in Tales to Astonish number 27. Pym is a, not mad, let's say agitated scientist, ridiculed by his peers for his impractical research. He develops a formula that lets him shrink or grows things, so of course he decides to test it on himself. After a frightening romp in an anthill, he realizes his formula is too dangerous for humanity. He dumps it down the drain and decides to stick with more practical science. If that doesn't seem like much of a superhero origin, you'd be right. Tales to Astonish wasn't a superhero book yet. It was an anthology series of 2 or 3 sci-fi horror stories in every issue. Some of those stories got the occasional sequel, but there was rarely any crossover or continuity between them. I don't know why Larry Lieber and Jack Kirby decided to use this particular one-and-done story to inspire the future hero, but just think. There's an alternate reality out there where they decided to reform the mad scientist that turned himself into a gorilla instead. We'd have Paul Rudd in a movie about a dude that swaps bodies with animals, and Michael Douglas would be playing Herr Radzig. I would still watch that movie. Would you? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check back next week because things are going to get incredible.